Hi, welcome to this look at the Easter 2025 weather prospects. Now, the first thing to say is that at the time of recording, there is still a full week to go until Good Friday. What does that mean? Well, it means there is time for the details to change very significantly. Nonetheless, let's see how things appear to be shaping up at this point. I'm going to start by looking at three of the deterministic computer model runs. Those are ones which essentially provide a snapshot forecast for a given time. This is the GFS, the Global Forecast System, at the start of Good Friday. It has low pressure centred to the west of Ireland, and there are outbreaks of rain spreading northwards. Fairly tightly packed isobars there, indicating the potential for rather windy conditions too. Now, as I run the sequence, what we see is that low pressure drifts around, but it's often centred to the south, to the west of the UK, and high pressure is building to the north. All in all, it's quite a changeable pattern which is being forecast, with a chance of showers or longer spells of rain at times through the Easter period, but also the chance of some warmer sunny periods. Next is the Canadian model. It starts with low pressure centred to the southwest and just to the north of Scotland there, and there's a ridge of high pressure to the east. Running the sequence, well, those outbreaks of rain spread northwards fairly quickly. There are then showery conditions, and I would expect there to be some heavy and possibly thundery showers with this type of thing in western parts of the UK especially. Later on, that area of high pressure to the north is starting to have more influence. Finally, in these sequences, the European model, and it also has low pressure centred to the southwest to start off with, a ridge of high pressure there across the UK, so it's mainly dry at the start of Good Friday according to this. But as we run the sequence, what we see is outbreaks of rain push northwards and eastwards, and then it's quite a mixed pattern with high pressure having some influence at times. And there could well be, if this one's right, some warm spells of sunshine, especially in central and eastern counties of England. But once more, the chance of heavy showers at times affecting western parts of the UK. So it's a very mixed pattern which is being forecast by these three computer models. So let's have a look at some of the ensemble data. Now, the ensemble models are basically computer models which are run many times with slightly different starting conditions, and what they do is help identify the probability of different scenarios. So what's the most likely outcome? This is the GEFS. It's essentially showing the pressure patterns across the North Atlantic through the Easter weekend period. The UK there is in the middle of each one of those little plots, and the takeout here is that it's quite a changeable pattern which has been forecast. It's backing up those sequences which I've just shown, and quite a few of the individual runs here have low pressure centred close to southern parts of the UK, and were that to be correct, it would really reinforce the message that we could be seeing dry conditions developing more frequently in the north and perhaps the east if that low pressure is centred a little bit to the southwest as well as being to the south of the UK. Here's the GEFS graph showing upper air temperatures and precipitation forecasts. If you see my 14-day forecast, you'll know I make quite a lot of use of these. This is the Easter period. The rest is shaded out. So this is before Easter, and the shading out to the right there is after it. The message is that upper air temperatures may well be above the average. You can see the thick purple line there is above the thick black line. The thick black line is a 30-year norm. The thick purple line is the average of all runs in this model. So aloft, at least, it's quite a warm picture if it's right. But in terms of rainfall, well, there are quite a few spikes showing up there, but it doesn't look like a washout. If you remember, each spike is the forecast of rain from one of the individual runs within this ensemble model at that particular time. So quite changeable, reinforcing message. The European ensemble plot for London, this one just shows precipitation forecasts, also continues to show an ongoing risk of showers or longer spells of rain. The probabilities of dry conditions are across the very bottom there in grey, and they are varying. So when I say probabilities of dry conditions, that's for each time step at 6-hour intervals going through the Good Friday and Easter weekend period. fairly mixed, but if you look at those in some detail, quite a few of the individual runs here are going for dry conditions at times. Maximum temperatures, so using data from the GEFS ensemble model, yellow being the dominant colour, these are for daytime maximums, 11 to 15, but there is quite a lot of orange there, 16 to 20, so if the sun shines and we get some drier periods, as I said, it could well be quite warm, at least in the southeast. The comparable chart for Manchester has more rain spikes, I think. Upper air temperatures fairly similar, but once more it's indicating the chance of some heavy outbreaks of rain, or at least showers, and that ties in with the idea of low pressure maybe being centred to the west or the southwest of the UK. The European model for Manchester also shows that chance of heavy showers along spells of rain, and the grey numbers at the bottom there, the ones which are showing the percentage chance of dry conditions at each time step, are generally lower than they were on the London chart. So again, a greater chance of rain here. Temperatures, 2 metre temperatures, so the maximums through the days, 11 to 15, dominant, the yellow. There's less orange here, and there is some light green. Those are going for cooler conditions, so between 6 and 10. Up to Glasgow. Quite interesting here because there are some big spikes there, some big rain spikes for a time, but all in all, it's a similar picture, and later on, the number of rain spikes is decreasing, and that could well fit in with the idea of high pressure starting to build down from the north and bring drier conditions to the northern part of the UK, particularly later on in the Easter weekend period. The European model, very, very similar in terms of rain spikes there, and you can see the percentage chance of dry conditions across the bottom, a number of runs which are not forecasting rain at a given time. Temperatures for Glasgow, lower than further south as you would expect, still a fair amount of yellow, but it's the light greens which are dominating, so between 6 and 10 degrees through the days. I don't know about you, but that wouldn't entice me to be sitting outside. Here's the percentage chance of 5 millimetres or more of rain falling through the Good Friday, Saturday and Easter Sunday period. This is based on data from the ECM ensemble model. The orange shading is where the chances are highest, so it's generally in the southwest, the west of Britain, Northern Ireland quite high too. So green shading indicates around a 40% chance. The yellowy orangey colouring is between 50 and 60%. It's a drier picture, or at least a lower chance of heavy rain as you head eastwards. Once more, supporting the idea of low pressure being centred to the west of the United Kingdom. The mean surface level pressure data tables, this one's for London. Quite a bit of yellow in there. Most of those runs are close to or slightly above the average mean surface level pressure values for the time of the year. The greens, though, indicate low pressure. And it's notable that the amount of green is increasing later on, and that could also fit in with the idea of high pressure becoming centred more to the north of the UK, with areas of low pressure becoming more influential across southern and central regions. Up to York, lots of yellow here and a little bit of orange too. And finally up to Glasgow, not much difference with York. Taking those three data tables together, it's quite an interesting pattern, because if anything, if I just jump back to the London one, here we go, what we see is that later on there is a signal for pressure to be lower in the south of the UK than in the north. So high pressure may be building to the north. So to summarise all that, the Easter period is looking changeable. There is a risk of showers. Those could well be heavy and thundery, especially in the west. There's also a chance of longer spells of rain and strong winds. With that said, there could well be some warm sunny periods too, particularly in southeastern England. On the whole, and this is a little bit speculative, on the whole, the driest conditions, particularly later on in the Easter weekend period, may become focused on the north and the east of the UK, as high pressure to the north starts to become more influential. So there we have it. Low confidence on how this is all going to play out. Changeable probably sums it up well, with that signal though for high pressure to the north of the UK to start having more influence through the second half of the Easter period maybe. And if that happens, we could see the driest conditions becoming focused on Scotland and eastern parts of England, with low pressure staying to the west or to the southwest. Anyway, I hope you found that useful and enjoyed it. If you did, then please consider hitting the like button below. Also, don't forget to subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already. And of course, stay up to date with the day-to-day weather developments by checking out TheWeatherOutlook.com website. Thanks so much now. Bye.